If you've already watched the video by Charles Glisson, you've already heard how important climate and culture can be in mental health organizations. Positive climates and cultures can reduce turnover, increase job satisfaction, and affect positive outcomes for clients by facilitating the adoption of new programs and services that might help to sustain treatment strategies that have been shown to work. But how is culture and climate effectively measured in mental health organizations? In order to measure culture and climate, we've created the OSC, or Organizational Social Context Scale. The OSC is a 105-item scale that is used to measure the climate, culture, and work attitudes in mental health agencies. It takes about 20 minutes to complete, and it can be done either by paper and pencil by the use of scan forms, or it can be done over the internet. It's usually administered at a team meeting. It's essential that the person administering the OSC is someone outside of the organization, so that we can ensure confidentiality and get honest responses from the staff. The OSC is completed only by line-level staff members at the agency. Leaders and supervisors don't complete the OSC because we've found that their responses are not usually indicative of the culture and climate that exists at the line level. Rather than measuring individuals' responses on the OSC is scored by unit of analysis or work team that employee is part of. We run reliability estimates to make sure that everyone in these units share the same beliefs and the same expectations. We administered the OSC to 100 mental health agencies all across the country so that we could provide reliable comparisons for leaders who want to assess the climate and culture of their agencies. In addition to mental health agency norms, we've recently also developed norms for child welfare agencies, again in a nationwide study of 80 agencies. So what does the OSC measure? Culture is measured with 3 scales: proficiency, rigidity, and resistance. But remember, these are expectations that the agency place on the staff. These are not personality characteristics of staff members themselves. Proficiency is high when there are expectations that service providers will be competent, have up-to-date knowledge, and place the well-being of clients first. Subscales of proficiency include responsiveness and competence. Rigidity is high when there are expectations that service providers will have limited discretion and flexibility and closely follow bureaucratic rules and regulations. Subscales of rigidity include centralization and formalization. And resistance is high when there are expectations that service providers will show no interest in change or in new ways of providing services. Subscales of resistance include apathy and suppression. Organizational climate is measured with 3 scales: engagement, functionality, and stress. Engagement is high when service providers have a high sense of personal accomplishment, involvement, and concern for clients. Subscales of engagement include personalization and personal accomplishment. Functionality is high when service providers believe they receive the needed cooperation, support, and recognition to do their jobs. Subscales of functionality include growth and advancement, role clarity, and cooperation. And stress is high when service providers feel emotionally exhausted and overloaded in their work. Subscales of stress include emotional exhaustion, role conflict, and role overload. Finally, we measure work attitudes using a scale called morale, which is composed of job satisfaction and organizational commitment. We've found that about 10% of agencies nationwide have what we might call best cultures, where proficiency is much higher than both rigidity and resistance. And about 10% of agencies have what we might call worst cultures, where both rigidity and resistance are much higher than proficiency. Similarly, about 10% have best climates, where both engagement and functionality are higher than stress. And about 10% have worst climates, where stress is much higher than both engagement and functionality. The OSC is a vital first step in measuring the climate and culture of an organization that might later be used by agency leadership to understand just where they start in regard to climate and culture.